Yes? Did anyone went to the party yesterday? Yeah? Really enjoyed? Great. So now it's time for some Power Automate 101. Did anyone have some experience with Power Automate right now? 1, 2, 3. Only experience or experience in production? Production? Yeah? Okay. Then we have to take care about the motto, less code, more power. So it's called also the Power Platform. And now, who am I? I am Alexander Klein. I am a German independent BI consultant. I have experience with the SQL Server more than 20 years. I'm focused on the BI part, data warehouse, everything that you can do in the cloud in the last 8 years. And of course, we have a look at the Power Platform. This is also a tool set that you can use to build an ETL process for your data. So today, a short agenda, Power Platform, Power Automate is our focus, and the main focus for me is today show demos, so that you can see what can I do in Power Automate and if it fits to my needs. What is the Power Platform? You see here some known names. The biggest known name is, of course, Power BI. Everyone knows Power BI. It belongs to the Power Platform as Power Automate. Also the Power Apps. The Dataverse from Microsoft also belongs to the Power Platform. We have the AI Builder is also a part of the Power Platform, and the Power Virtual Agents. And at least, yes, I forgot the Power Pages. They are also part of the Power Platform. And now the question, can anyone tell me why PowerPoint is not on this list? No? Not really? No, PowerPoint you write with no blanks between. And here you write everything like Power blank BI, Power blank apps, and PowerPoint you don't write with blanks, so it's not on the list. Okay, Power Automate. We have to go back in time. In the year 2016, this was the first time Microsoft released it with the name Microsoft Flow. It's the same time when Microsoft released the Power Apps. But then Microsoft decided to rebrand the name from Flow to Automate. I don't know why, but they did it. Since 2019, they call it Automate. But in many documentation, you always see the name Flow. So if you talk about Flow or Automate, it's the same thing. Okay, what is Power Automate? Power Automate is a cloud-based workflow platform that you can use to build your own workflow, like something happened and then I want to do some action and I need some connections to do the action. This is where the Automate is built for. Main things from the Automate is that we talk about actions and triggers. Like a trigger is someone creates a new file on a SharePoint list or a Microsoft OneDrive. And then I need some action like, okay, I want to get notified that there is a new file, or I want to copy the new file to a special place. Or if a new mail arrives, it depends on the subject where I want to forward the mail to special people. And also, it is a no-code, low-code. In this case, it is a no-code platform. You have no options to go under the hood and see the code. If you want to do the same thing in the Azure portal, then you can use the Azure logic apps. It's the same thing like Power Automate, but with the logic apps, you can switch between the design mode and the code mode, and then you have the options to write some code. But here, in the M365 environment, we have not the option. Yes, of course, at least you have one mobile app for your smartphone that you can handle all your automated flows that you created on your smart device. There are 3 types of Power Automate flow. The first is the cloud flow, where you build it in your browser, your automation. Then you have an option for desktop flows, and at least you have one option for business flows. The business process flows is more focused on the Dataverse. But today we take a look at the cloud flows. Okay, it's very easy. You need a trigger, you need an action, and then you had at the end a flow. So choose a trigger. For a trigger, you need the connections, and there are some. I show it later on. You can scroll very right down to pick one of the connections that you need. In this case, I want to select the SharePoint as a connector. And if I select the SharePoint as a connector, then I can choose between different triggers that this connection offered to me. Like here on the SharePoint, I can say, okay, I want to start if someone adds a new item to a SharePoint list, or if someone uploads a new file on the SharePoint. Could be the start point of my workflow. And then I need an action, so what I want to do after the trigger starts. And of course, I also have to select one connector. In this case, maybe we choose Power BI as a connector. And if I choose Power BI as a connector, then I get this set of actions that are available. So in my case, I could say, okay, if someone adds a new item in my SharePoint list, then I want to push this new item to a streaming data set here in Power BI. And then I'm finished. This is the smallest part, smallest piece of the Power Automate that I can create. I had one trigger and one action. So like this, or here in this case, I had the trigger that starts if a new tweet is posted for a hashtag, and then I want to save it in a SharePoint list. If we go a little bit more, then you can say, oh, I have 2 actions, not one. Like in the left part, we start with if a tweet is created, then I can send it to and the AI part, the AI builder. I send the tweet text, and I want to get a score value, a sentiment back from the text if the text is positive, neutral, or negative. So I get the value between 0.0, this means negative, and if it's close to 1.0, then it's positive. So I can analyze the social media feeds in this case. And at least I want to write all the information in a SQL database table. On the other hand, I have the same workflow. I started with the tweets, I detect and sentiment, and then I write it to a streaming data set in Power BI. So one trigger and 2 actions. Yes, one trigger, 3 actions. You can combine, like, yes, I get the sentiment. I want to write it to a streaming data set. And at least I want to write it to in the SQL database table, the information. And yes, you can build more complex workflows here. Like, okay, something happened, and then I have a for each loop and do something, and at the end I do something else. And this is one workflow that we say, okay, if a new mail arrives, we check the the email address where the mail came from, and the subject, and then we decided where we want to store the attachment in the right folder for something else that we can work on the attachments. Okay, but this we will not build today. Okay, that's enough for the slides. So if you want, take the photo here. Finish? Okay. Okay, then some demos. Any questions so far? Yeah?
I found it interesting that you can insert a row to a data set. But if the row already exists in the Power BI data set, can you then update that row?
Could you repeat the question for the online?
So you can insert a row to a Power BI data set, but can you also update a row if the row is already there?
In a streaming data set in Power BI, you only can insert. There's no update functionality. And if you have the smallest version in Power BI, then you have, I think, at least 1 million rows. And if you insert the 1,000,001 row, the first row will be dropped.
Thanks.
More questions? No? Okay. Then it's time to go to our Power Automate website. If you start in your portal, choose the app Power Automate, and it will link you to this site. So this means, look here, what you want to automate today. There are different options. Maybe we start with the most important thing, create. Yes, I want to create an automate flow. So you see, okay, you can start from blank. You have different options. Say, yes, I want to create automated flow, cloud flow, and some, we show it later. And you see here, they started with templates. There are a lot of templates available. So if you know what I want to do, then you can search in the templates, like for Twitter. He shows me all the available templates for Twitter. That means Twitter with the start point or Twitter with an end point. It depends what you want to do. And if I choose this one, the first one here, it's very easy. I say, okay, I want to use this template. He shows me, okay, you need at least 3 connections. I need a connection for my Twitter handle. I need a connection for my streaming data set. And I need a connection to my cognitive services for the AI part, for the Sentinel analysis. And when I have all the connections, then it's very easy. Then it's only to fill out, okay, I need to search text in Twitter, like SQL bits 2023. And then in the next step, I want to push the tweet text to the AI part. And if you see here, you click in the element, and then you have a list of available attributes. And these are the attributes I get from the trigger from Twitter. So in this case, I want to select the tweet text. This is the interesting thing for me that I want to analyze. And if I go to the next part, I want to add it to my streaming data set. So it will be this one. And hopefully here is my streaming data set that I expected. Yes, here's my streaming data set. And he connects to the streaming data set and reads out, okay, there are 3 columns in the streaming data set. I want to store the creation time of the tweet. I want to store the tweet text, and at least I want to store the score value, the sentiment value for the text. Is it positive or negative? This is all what I want to store. So in less than 3 minutes, you create your first workflow here in Power Automate. And you don't have to write any line of code. You have to write, yes, of course, you have to write your credentials for the 3 data sources and, of course, the search text that you're looking for, but nothing else more. It's very easy. And at least you have to click on Save, and then your first Automate flow is saved, and you can say the next step is to say, okay, I want to test it. So I can say I want to test it manually. Test, and then he runs and waits for the next tweet with the hashtag SQLBits2023. And if this tweet occurs, he starts his workflow, do the analysis, and push it to the streaming dataset. If your workflow, if your flow is finished, then you have also a history of the last 28 days of your run. So this is a new one, so we have no run history, but I can go to one of my flows that I created. Maybe this one has an history. Yes, here. You see the history, and each call you can select and have a look what's happened in each step. So I can look, okay, I have a search text for this Twitter handle, some tweet of course, and then I send it to my analysis part, and here I see the tweet text I sent to this part, and at my last step I want to insert it in a SQL database row, and I see, okay, these are the fields that I insert in my SQL database table. So you have always the focus to see, okay, what's happened, and if something happened wrong, what's happened wrong. And you can change and figure it out and fix the error. Okay, so far, any questions here? Yeah, got you. Or you can.
You want me to?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. So the first one is, I need to convince the security team that Power Automate is secure. Any pointers? And you'll want to read that back.
The question is about the security in Power Automate. So yes, the Power Automate use the same security from your M365 environment. So you have the AAD accounts, and it's all based on the AAD accounts.
Okay.
Okay. One more.
Second one is, if a SharePoint file is updated and you then get Automate to refresh a Power BI data set, can you then get Automate to publish said report into its respective app?
Okay, the question is, if I have a SharePoint list and an item will be updated, and I will push the data to a streaming data set in Power BI, if the report is also refreshed again. Yes. Yeah, it is. Okay. But it depends on the trigger. You have to be careful. One trigger is like if a new item is created, and there's a second trigger like if an item is created or updated. It depends what you choose.
Okay. That's all that's in here.
Okay. More questions? No? Okay. Then we can build a flow from scratch. We say, okay, we want to create an automated cloud flow. Here you get a wizard. Like, okay, I want to add a name. My first flow 44, and then you can say, okay, maybe I add a connection in advance, or I can say, I want to skip, and I have the blank automate workflow. And here I get the same question, okay? I have to start with some trigger. Okay, for the trigger I need a connection. And now I can choose between the different connections. And here maybe we start with our, we start with SharePoint as an trigger. And we want to say when an item is created. Yes, I think this is good. So I had the connection to my SharePoint, so I can connect to my SharePoint, and I can choose one of my lists. I want to choose my charge point list, like this one. And then the next step is, okay, I want to write the information in my SQL database table. So I have to connect to my SQL. Here's my SQL Server, or also Azure SQL. And then I can say I want to insert a new row. He knows my connection, so yes, my connection. I choose my database. And at least I have to choose my table. I choose my table charge points. And then he connects to the table and read out all the columns. So I get a list of all columns that I can fill with data during my insert process. I have to start with my first field. I see, okay, I get from the SharePoint list some fields, some attributes. Yeah, I found here the FCID. Yes, I choose this one. Then I need the block type group. I need some information about how fast is the charging station. Oh, it doesn't over. Max. Yes, here is my field. Oh, sorry. Of course, we need the address. City. If you have a bigger screen, then it's easier to handle. Here on the small screen, you have to scroll a bit. We need the country. Country code. This we don't have, and at least we need the operator name. So save. And then we are finished. We click on test. Yes, manually test. And then we can go to our SharePoint list. So just wait, he is running. Yeah, that looks good. We go to our SharePoint list, the SharePoint list with my charging points. I can say, yes, I want to add a new item. The first is my FCID, so I need a charge point ID for Germany, BV, and then star 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will be a fast charger, so CCS, at least 350 kilowatts. It will be based in my hometown, Freiburg Street, postcode, of course, DE for Germany, long lat I don't have, and we have at least the operation name, BW. And we want to save. So I created here a new item, and then we switch back to our flow. So, successfully run. Okay, have a look what he get from the SharePoint list. He gets something from the SharePoint list, and we look what he is insert. Okay, we insert in the table charge point. We insert in the table, yes, this is what I typed in. The DE, ENBV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, CCS, Freiburg, okay, yeah. So the workflow runs, and at least I can connect to my database and see if it is insert really, or if the workflow maybe runs not in the way I expected. So we go to our Azure Data Studio. I want to select the top 1,000 of my charge point. Ooh, not good. Maybe we had to reconnect. Come on. Yeah, if you have demos in the cloud, you need sometimes the time. Yeah, it not works. Oh, that's not so good. Maybe a second. No. Ah, of course. Maybe we close and reopen, and maybe this fixes our problem. Okay, but you can, not this one, the Azure Data Studio. But trust me, the row is created in our SQL table. Okay, we try it again, reconnect. SQL babes, come on, yeah, the database is there, and then we need our tables. Tables here, charge point, select 1,000. And we want to order by desk. So here we had one. Yes, this is the same FZEDE, NBW 123457, and we had the insert time 10:40. Yeah, 3:4. Yeah, this is still there. Okay, so you see, it's very easy without writing any line of code. Insert or build your first workflow. If you add a new item in a SharePoint list, then you get the result stored also in MySQL table, and then you can do whatever you want with the data in your SQL table. Maybe you can use it as a data source for an interesting Power BI report. Yes, we can extend the flow with one more step, that we can say, okay, we want to refresh the data sets based for a Power BI report. Okay. Then we can go back to our flows and start with a template. No, here, this one. Create. So they have something in preview here. Describe it to design it. This is interesting. Here you can write what the flow should work or should like. Like I can say, okay, when someone sends an email reminder every week, I choose this text. And then he analyzed the text and figured out, okay, what is my intent? And based on my intent, he will generate a recommendation for me. So, okay, I talked about something, I have a trigger for a time, so each week, and then something like email or notification, and this is the recommendation I get here. I can use this, or I can start with a blank, but this is interesting. Maybe you can write what you want, and he get the right recommendation for you, if you don't find the right template. So, back here. Maybe we can try it, copy Excel sheet from SharePoint to Azure Blob. And now, okay, some trigger. There's one step too much, but we can use this. At least we had 2 connections. We had one connection to our SharePoint, and we have one connection to our Azure Blob Storage. We can say, okay, this is good. Here you can add also some information, but you can say, okay, I want to create the flow. And in the flow, you see, okay, I have my trigger. Then I need also the information, okay, where's the connection to my SharePoint, what file I'm looking for. But he has 2 steps here. I don't want to get the metadata from the SharePoint. Delete. Yes, I want to delete. I'm only interested, okay, I choose my connection to my SharePoint. I choose my file. My files are in my freigegebene Dokumente. Sorry for the German in this English overview. SQL bits. And here I had some files. I choose my, yes, we want to copy an Excel file. I choose my Excel file. And my last step is, okay, I also have to choose the right ordner in my Azure Blob Storage. I had one prepared, SQL bits 2023. Now I need a name for my file. It's always the same name, but you can also add date, time to store different versions of your file. But in this case, I choose the name file, and I say save. We have to go to our Azure Storage Explorer. Here in my Storage Explorer, I'm in the folder SQL bits 2023. Nothing is in it. Then we can start, or test in this case, manually test. Yes, I want to run. Done. Okay, come on. Successfully run. 3 steps, very easy. We go back to our Azure Storage Explorer. We hit refresh. And you see, here's my Excel sheet. Okay. So far, any questions? No? 2 questions online?
Yeah, first, is it possible to ask Automate to perform sentiment analysis on emails in addition to social media posts?
The question is, can I use the sentiment analysis for incoming emails? Yes. There's also one option that you can extract the key phrases of the email, like what is the intent of the incoming email from the customer. I know some customer projects, they used the same thing, but not with Automate. They use it in an Azure Logic app, but the same thing. They analyze the incoming emails from a call center, and the agent has a look. Don't have to read the whole email. He gets the short summary with the key phrases, what is the intent and how can I help the customer.
The second one is the describe it to design it feature available for UK tenants?
The question is, if the describe it and we build it feature, is it available for UK tenant? Actually, it's in preview, so I don't know if it's available for UK. For German tenants, it's available at the moment. But maybe they will release it as a general available at the end of the year. Maybe. We will see. Okay. So then we have one more demo. Did anyone knows the Power Automate, the Power Virtual Agents? No? Okay, then we go to our Power Virtual Agent. Power Virtual Agents is the tool that you can build, or that you can empower your employees to build their own chatbot without writing any line of code. You have some topics, some actions that you can do. Here, I generated one chatbot, and I generated one topic. Where's my edit and test here. I want to test my chatbot. I had a topic called AI sentiment, the same thing that I showed before. I send text to AI and I get the sentiment value back. Here I had a trigger, so when should this topic start? My trigger is, I want to talk to Sentinel, and then he asked me, okay, nice, blah, 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 blah. And then I can he asked me for, okay, what text I want to analyze. So we try it. Talk to Sentinel, sentiment. And now, okay, what's your text you want to analyze? Maybe I go back to my SQL table, and I had some offers here, tweet 1,000. And I will pick a random text. Maybe this one looks very good. I copy this tweet. I go back to my input, and my input says, okay, I send this. And now he sends the tweet text to the AI part and get back the information. In this case, I get three values. I get the value for negative, for positive, or neutral. And yes, we will see, okay, it's close to 1.0 for the, oh, it's very neutral. It should be very positive, or maybe we go back in our table. And we see, okay, the sentiment value should be close to 1, so very positive. That's interesting. That is very neutral here. Maybe we try it with a second one. Here, completely neutral. No, so same thing as talk to sentiment. Insert my text. Go, and what we get back, yeah, and this is what I expected. Okay, neutral should be the 0.5, and this is confidential, like 100%. Okay, so it works. What is behind this step? In the chatbot, I have one step where I connect to the flow. And in this flow, I give some values, like I give the text that I want to analyze. And at the other hand, I get outputs from the flow, like here in this case, the information, okay, the number of the value for positive, negative, or neutral. And then I can present this as an output here in my chat to the customer. And if I go to my flow, to see what's happened. No, I need my flows. So my flows, and then I get the overview of all the flows I have. Power Virtual Agent template, maybe this one should be the right one. Now he's thinking. Come on. Network error, oh, that's not so good. Maybe we try another one, or it again. Power Virtual Agent, flow template, this one. That looks better. Okay, here's also run history, that means here's one. Then we go to edit, and you see, okay, I get some input values from the chatbot. I use the input, send it to my sentiment analysis, and from the sentiment analysis I get values back, and these are the values that I push back to my chatbot. So you have an interaction. You can do the same thing with Power Apps, that you can push on the button, and then you can start a flow and give the flow some input values, and you wait for output values from the flow and present the result in your Power App. It's also possible. Okay, so far, any questions here? Yeah?
First one is, any pointers, connectors, and security?
The question is about pointers, connectors, and security.
Yeah, this is the same questioner from earlier that was, it sounds like he's having trouble convincing the security team to allow some of this to work.
The question is more focused on, okay, can I use the security policies in my company and work with automate? Yes, you can. The administrator in your company takes care about the security. So every time you want to use Flow, you have to log in with your AAD account. And then he takes all the security things and rules from your account. So it is safe.
Okay, and the second one is, how do I get the value add of Power Automate across to my business? I've tried convincing them previously, but perhaps I'm missing something important. Try to convince them to spend the money, I guess.
Yeah, okay, the question is, I don't know what is the real intent. Yeah, maybe we have to talk about the license and the pricing thing. Always the right answer is it depends. It depends what license do you have. Normally you have an E3 license in the company or E5, then the most things are covered. But if you want to use a premium connector, like I show the connection to the SQL server, yes, then you have to pay a little bit extra fee. It's the same thing like if you create an Power App, and in this Power App you use the connection to the SQL Server, then you have two options. One option is I pay for the app an extra amount to use this connection, or I can pay for each user who wants to use this app an extra amount. But then the user can this premium connection use in more than one Power App. So it depends what I want to do, and it depends on the license that you use in your company. Okay. Yeah, I think we will do all the steps. Maybe we can look at the same part in the Azure portal, the Azure Logic app that you see. It's the same. So all resources. Maybe I had here one. Text analytics, yeah, maybe this one is a good example. You have nearly the same overview. You see, okay, what was the last run, if it's failed, if it is succeeded. You can go and edit, and you see, oh, it's nearly the same overview, like in Power Automate. But here, you can switch between design and code mode. So some actions and some triggers has more availabilities. Maybe if you want to connect to an API and you know, okay, there's more than 2 parameters that I can pass to, then I can edit here. If in design mode, I'm only get the options to pass like only 1 parameter. So you have here more flexibility. But this is yeah, in my mind, this is more for the developers who works in Azure, and not for the normal user that they want you to have in the Microsoft M365 environment. In the M365 environment, you can enable your users with the Power Platform to do their own thing. They don't have to wait for a developer resource like for 2 months or 3 months. They can start from scratch, and it's very easy to build something like this. Maybe at least you have to read some manuals the half day, but then you are able to build your first workflow. And you can build workflows that can reduce your daily work like for an hour or 30 minutes. It depends what you can to automate. But you have the option to automate nearly anything. And if something is missing, something, if you miss some connections, then you can also write your own connection, your own connector. But then maybe you need the help of a developer to write the connection. Okay. So far, any questions? Okay, one more question online.
Yes. So it says there's a lot of JSON manipulation for more intermediate flows. What user is Microsoft targeting at this level?
The question is about the JSON behind and what will Microsoft will do this. I'm not sure. I know that you can export the automate flow, and then you can modify it in a normal text editor, the JSON, and then you can import it. But in my mind, this is not really recommended to do this. It's like the same if you use Microsoft CRM, use the standard APIs to fill data in and get data out. Don't do something under the hood. Okay. Here, maybe at least I have one nice example for an automate flow. I attended one session, I think it was on Thursday, and Kurt talked about, yes, how can I reduce my work and feel better and be healthier, and at least he shows an example. Okay, each day I can press one of these 3 buttons, and yes, I push the information to my team, and also I push it to my streaming data set, so I get the history of my feeling. Was the week good or was the week not so good? Yes. And then, if you have no more questions, I say, oh, yeah, one.
They ask, if I have an Excel file in SharePoint, can I create a flow to import this to Power BI every time that it's updated?
Yeah, you can you can choose the trigger if the file is created or updated, and then you can run and say, okay, I want to push it, and at least I have to choose the action, process the data sets for Power BI. Then you're safe. One example on the customer, we had the need to push an Excel from the SharePoint to do nearly the same thing. But if you work in Azure and use the Logic app or the Azure Data Factory, you have no connection. You have a connection to the SharePoint and the SharePoint list, but you don't have a connection to the SharePoint files. So we have to split it. We have one Power Automated flow that copies the Excel file to an Azure blob, and then we have in the Azure pipeline, Data Factory pipeline and listener for the blob. So if there's some new file created, then the pipeline can run, import the data to an Azure Data Warehouse, and at least process the data sets, and you have the results in Power BI. So, okay. Then, thank you very much, and please don't forget to give feedback.